Thank you so much, Tom, again for joining me, and welcome to Faces of Fintech. So in this video series, we're interviewing the tastemakers and the innovators behind the UK's most groundbreaking digital solutions. I can't wait to hear more about your journey and learn more about your mission to help businesses improve and achieve their goals. So to kick things off, I'd love to hear who you are, what do you do, and why do you do it?
Cool, thank you for having me. So my name is Tom Wallace. I'm the founder and CEO of Re-Leased. And at Re-Leased, we are commercial property management software. So basically we run the accounting, the property management, the lease management, the tenant management, everything that goes into running complex commercial and residential property portfolios. And we sell it to two key markets. Basically, we'll sell it to landlords who manage their property in-house with an in-house team. And we'll also sell it to managing agents who will manage on behalf of third parties.
So I can see that your journey has been technology and property based, but before founding Re-Leased, what were you doing with before coming into this property profession?
Yeah, so I finished university and I was really interested in technology. Like I always had a passion. I also really like the business side of the technology. I'm from New Zealand, and so it kind of creates an opportunity, particularly in SaaS, software as a service, to create a business that you could sell around the world and take a lot of away all of the traditional constraints of like shipping and being able to export it to the world. So I was really attracted to that. And then my family has always been, or my father's always been in commercial property development and investment. So after university, I went and worked there for about a year while I sort of tried to figure out how was I going to get involved in technology? What would that look like? And I just went through, probably dozens of ideas that I thought were great, and then would validate them and realize that they weren't so great. And people would tell me that that's not the best idea. And then eventually sort of narrowed in on a problem that was right in front of me. I was looking at the technology that they were using, which I thought was very poor and very old. And so I just started looking for them to see what else was out there. And I didn't see anything else out there that was any good. Certainly there was nothing out there that was cloud-based and nothing that would integrate with other accounting softwares like Xero or QuickBooks. And so from there, basically just thought we could do that. There was an opportunity. And if we could solve this problem for this business, we thought we could take that out to the world and solve it for a lot of similar businesses.
Do you mind me asking what the ideas were that you had before Re-Leased that you thought weren't very great?
Yeah. They were like, well, yeah. Oh, what were they? There was one that was kind of modeled off a company called Overstock.com, which was like taking the stock that doesn't sell in shops and then trying to get that back. But then, I would talk to people who had some sort of familiarity with that industry, and they'd be like, yeah, like, do you really want to do that? You have to be involved in shipping. Like, that's really hard. Or they'd be like, look, that idea's okay, but you won't even sell it in New Zealand. You can't export that. Like, you do really want to only sell to 5 million people when there's a whole world out there. And so you kind of just get that feedback. And, at the time you'd be a bit gutted because you think that is a great idea. But it's a lot easier to go that way and find out that the idea is a bit stupid or might not work if we go and spend a bunch of money and time on it.
Yeah, don't worry. The amount of stupid ideas I've had that people have told me and been honest about, but you've definitely made the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, some of the ideas out there that kind of sound stupid at first, being the ones that blow up the most. So you never know, really.
100%. Yeah, no, I completely agree. So I also saw that you were the winner of the Rising Star category for New Zealand in the Talent Unleashed competition for 2014. So firstly, I know it was a couple of years back, but congratulations anyway. How did that feel when you won that?
It was like, it was a few years ago now, but at the time it was kind of, I guess it's unexpected and surprising that we just weren't in it to win awards. I think as we sort of grow and as a team, we do enter awards because it's good for the business, it builds our profile, and it helps the team, the whole of the Re-Leased team, feel really good about what they're doing to get sort of recognise what we're doing. That one was a personal one, so it was just kind of weird because I was just focused on the business and doing our thing, but it's always kind of cool.
Cool. So I know we've touched base briefly on what it is you were doing before obviously forming Re-Leased, but can you talk me through a little bit more about your journey and how you did get to where you are today?
Yeah, I guess so what's unique about my story is that as I was looking out and looking at what was happening in the world, there was a company called Xero, which is probably fairly well known now, the accounting software, but it's a $20 billion company now. It's massive. But at the time, this is 2011, they were still quite small. They were formed in 2006, but they're still quite small. But the founder, Roy Jury, lived in the same small town I lived in. He had 20,000 people. And so I sort of started looking into it and started understanding the product. And it just seemed to me like this surefire winner. Like I just couldn't see how it could lose against the companies it was going against, like SaaS, cloud, the design, the ecosystem. It was just so far ahead. And so I sort of, just in a funny way, just had sort of a front row seat to watch that happen. And I actually reached out to Rod. I didn't know him, but I was able to reach out to him and see, sort of brazenly asked if he would meet. And he was, super available for someone running a company like that. And so I met him quite a few times. He helped sort of shape my early ideas, and I guess in a way kind of gave me the confidence to, sort of after one meeting, he sort of said, "Great, look, go for it." And it was just that was kind of it. It was like, okay, well, I guess I got to go for it then. I better figure out how to start this thing. And so it was just a sort of unique set of circumstances that allowed me to see that opportunity.
Yeah. And were you doing it with somebody at the time? So were you the only founder, or were you doing it with a friend or someone that you knew?
No, I was the only founder. My dad was a helper at the start from the industry experience, and he's been on the board ever since. But very early on, I met with Phil Gale, who went on to become the CTO, and we actually used his company, an external company at the start, to start building the tech. And after a few years, we acquired that company, and they came in-house, and Phil became the CTO. But he was there from the very start. He's still with the business. And so he was, in a way, he kind of acted like a co-founder in many ways on the technical side.
Amazing. So going into Re-Leased now, I know that over the past couple of years, they have won some awards. So I think one in 2014 and another in 2017. So again, a couple of years ago now, but how did that feel for yourself and the team to win such great awards?
Yeah, the Zero Awards, I think for a while there we were like finalists every single year, and we kind of win every second year or sometimes miss out. Those awards are great for the team because you get this sort of external validation that what you're doing is special, and it's just nice for everyone to get that recognition. They can talk about it to the customers with pride. Even the customers take some pride in that, and of course everyone goes and has a fun night after the awards. The people that go to the awards go out and have a good night, so that's always a good time as well.
Yeah, I've heard some great stories from those night outs after the Zero.
Hopefully not from our team. Hopefully those stories haven't come on the podcast.
Oh no, definitely not. Don't worry, that will not be airing. But yeah, but no, those Zero Awards, yeah, absolutely great. Are you Re-Leased going to be there this year?
Yep, we're there. I think we go to all of them. I think in the last couple of years, obviously with COVID, it's been we haven't really had that presence, but the team love it. It's really great chance to sort of get in the ecosystem and be a part of it. So we'll definitely be
there. Going further into Re-Leased, can you please explain a little bit further to us what it is, how it works, and what it does?
Yeah, sure. So we actually have two products. We have one product called Re-Leased Connect, and that's typically used by our landlords. And what that is a product that integrates really deeply with Xero to start with, but we've since expanded that out. We integrate with Xero, we integrate with QuickBooks Online, and in the next few months we'll integrate with NetSuite, Sage Intacct, Microsoft Business Central. So we're kind of really expanding the number of integrations we have there. And it's really unique because most solutions in our space will try and build the accounting as well. And that's quite common as how old software was built. And so we thought we could build something that was really unique in the way that would partner with these really established accounting firms who had huge R&D budgets to build incredible accounting software. And then by bringing in Re-Leased to do our part on the commercial property management side, the two working together was fantastic. So that's our first product. The second product, though, is we sell to managing agents. That doesn't quite work the same because the way that they do their accounting, which is called client accounting over there, is different. And the accounting packages aren't set up to manage that. And so we actually build our own accounting. That product's called Re-Leased One. And we build our own accounting, which is obviously a pretty massive undertaking. But we decided that market was a really good market we wanted to serve as well. And so, we do everything in there from like bank reconciliations, disbursements, payments, all the reporting, all the HMRC reporting. So, obviously a lot goes into that to get that product out there. And we have, I think, over 10 billion USD like going through Re-Leased every year now. So it's like really well used, which is, there's a lot of responsibility for doing that as well. And then on the back of that, so that's sort of our core platform. And then from there, we've since expanded out, and it is a big part of our future now, into what we call CRE or commercial real estate solutions. So 3 other products that make that up. One of them is Re-Leased to Pay. So the ability to accept payments from tenants to landlords, so really making that payment flow a lot simpler and automating the reconciliation there. Credia, which is our commercial data and analytics product, which we're very excited about, which launched about a year ago, and everyone's really loving that. And then the last product is actually pre-launch, but it's called Re-Leased Protect, and that's an insurance product. And we think we can have a huge impact. We obviously have a huge amount of the data there, because we have the data. We think we can really improve the user experience of getting your property insured. But we also think because of our scale, we have more properties on the platform than any one individual. We think we can get better pricing and better policies for our customers too. So we're really excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, it all sounds great. I think Re-Leased is great. As you know, we've partnered with Re-Leased here at Raffingers. So we're just trying to make our clients more aware of what Re-Leased does and how it can help them. What I love is the fact that it integrates with Xero, because here we specialise in Xero. So we think it's an absolute no-brainer to obviously have Re-Leased for the property management side and then Xero for your accounting and finance side. But just having the two integrating together, it just makes absolute sense, and it's just one whole system to streamline your business, really. Do you find that a lot of businesses that are using Re-Leased are also connecting it up to their accounting platforms such as Xero or QuickBooks?
Yeah, the majority would do that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's just huge benefits from being able to do it. Like, I mean, we use, it's relatively typical in the early days as well, when Xero was perhaps younger, they would say, look, we'll just buy Re-Leased. We're going to stick on this old version of Sage or whatever it might be, MYOB in Australia, and maybe we'll do Xero later. And we would say, look, yeah, okay, well, like, that's no problem, but we would recommend an integration. And sure enough, within sort of a few months, 6 months, they'll come on and say, okay, let's look at that integration. They'll plug it in, and just the experience that they get from the two systems working really well together in unison. It's just so much better. The integrate, like the way that modern technology is designed, where you can have your specialist apps talking to your general ledger, it's just so much further ahead than anything else. And so, we're massive believers in it. It's been kind of the core of the business from day one.
Yeah, me and you both. So how has Re-Leased grown then since you formed it, and all those many years ago? How has it grown to today?
Yeah, I mean, so being a New Zealand company, you have to export very quickly, or you have a very small company. Basically, it's a small country, but we use that to our advantage. So we were selling to Australia effectively from day one. We were selling to the UK very early on as well, and we had to set up a UK office very early on because, we're from this call, the time zones, trying to support and sell to customers from the other side of the world was tricky. So we've had an office in London there since about 2015, and actually the UK is now our biggest market, followed by Australia. In terms of the team size, we've grown to, I think today we're around about 130, should be about 150 pretty soon. So we've seen really strong growth there. We have the majority of our R&D still in New Zealand, which is awesome, plus a sort of global remote team. And then we have our offices, so 2 in New Zealand, 1 in Melbourne, Australia, 1 in London, and actually we just opened up in the last 18 months or so in Denver in the US as well, as we move into that market. So yeah, it's just really exciting to sort of have a true global business, team members around the world and customers around the world. It's really cool.
That's amazing. Are there any more plans to expand offices throughout the world, or is that it for now?
For now, I think that's probably it for now. Like, we don't have, we've got a lot of addressable market for us to go after. And, so it's always that balance between, wanting to go and sell everywhere and obviously not stretching yourselves too thin as well. That's why we took quite a while to open up the US. We really wanted to be strong in our other core markets before we did that. So it's about getting that time around. And saying that, we have customers all over the show. We have customers throughout Asia Pacific, whether that's like Malaysia or Hong Kong, Singapore, the Middle East. So they're all over the show, but our other offices will support them.
Amazing. So for business owners who are watching right now, who are within the property sector, can you explain why they should use Re-Leased as their system and how it can improve their day-to-day running of the business?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what they've come from. Like, we still find, we see businesses who might manage tens or hundreds of millions of pounds worth of property, even billions of pounds of property, still using spreadsheets as kind of the first thing they'll be using. And quite often that's worked well for them up until a point. But then what happens is the underlying cost they don't see, the cost of missing a rent review, the cost of missing a health and safety inspection, all of those things just add up. There's a lot going on, and the cost of missing those things can be huge, right? It can be tens of thousands of dollars. It can even result in fines. If you're missing health and safety, it can go all the way to a director being put in jail if it's that bad. That's how much the responsibility is on there. So that's one part of it. The other part is like the traditional. If they're not on spreadsheets, they're typically on a software that's been designed for residential property. And actually, we do residential as well. Like it's nearly half of the property we have on the platform is residential. But it's important that we design it for commercial first and then build residential, because they are really different. They have different use cases. The way you do your accounting is different. Even the way it's structured, it's not just one property with one tenant. More often than not, one property will have dozens of tenants, even hundreds of tenants if it's a big enough building. And so it's really designed in that way. And we just know that the efficiency of it, the fact that we think a lot about user experience and really try to make it as simple as possible. Like it is a relatively complex thing to do, and we try and make it as simple as possible, bring the information to the surface, and of course connect it in with their other business tools to make it really, really efficient. So we just know they're going to, the business is going to be taking out risk, which is massive, and taking out costs, and also taking out time. And then you can use that time, you can use your staff's time to put it back in the business, whether that's looking for new opportunities, whether that's getting on top of it, being proactive with your maintenance, whatever it might be. It's just a better way to run rather than coming in and being chained to a computer and an old piece of software for 8 hours a day because it takes so long to do everything.
Yeah, we have found that a lot of our property clients are still spreadsheet based. So just from moving from their spreadsheets to Re-Leased, for example, we've looked into it, and we can say to them very honestly that it can obviously improve their time and efficiency, but also with the flexible working now and the way the world is changing, like you said, it's available on the cloud. So literally any of their employees, they can just log in from wherever they are and just work for the day, which I think is, it's great. It's better than being chained to a desk, like you've said, with the spreadsheet in front of you and, working away, when you can just be flexible and happy, I suppose.
100%. Yeah, exactly. We had some of our first customers say years ago that they were able to take their first holiday in years because they were able to, they knew everything was happening, but they could also go and log in from wherever they were. And then, of course, there's we talk about the power of the cloud and being able to access your information. And, suddenly when everyone's working from home, we had a lot of customers who were very, very thankful that they could pull up their laptop at home and keep working without disruption. And we had some new customers as a result who couldn't do that and decided very quickly that was needed. So it was a really good test for, I guess, the cloud in general. And it really sort of brought home the benefits that us and many other cloud SaaS companies have been talking about for a long time.
So following on from that, do you have a story that resonates with you in regards to a property company whose system was just really improved by connecting Re-Leased to their everyday accounting system? The one that I don't want to talk about too many of the ones that I feel like we often go in and realize how we implement the software for them, and so we can tell them how much money they're missing out on at the moment because they haven't done rent reviews, and they haven't increased the rent based on absolute, it's in the contract to do it, and they just didn't know about it. They missed it. And also when we make them aware that they've missed these health and safety inspections, that's always kind of scary. But the one I mentioned before really stands out, the fact that someone who was kind of working themselves to the ground could finally go away and get on holiday because the systems were working, it was efficient, and they could trust what was happening. They could see what was going on, what had been done, what hadn't been done, and they were able to get away and go on holiday and spend time with the family. To me, that's pretty cool. Yeah. And have you seen businesses grow from, being a small business who've just come over from a spreadsheet, come onto Re-Leased, and then as they have come onto Re-Leased, they've seen what they're missing out on, the opportunities, and they've gone from A to Z overnight?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like our favorite customers are the ones one that comes to mind is CPP, Commercial Property Partners, in the UK. So, they've just grown. I can't remember the exact size, but they've grown significantly. NG, who are based, I think, in Nottingham in the UK as well, have just, since they've come on board, they've just grown significantly. And I like to think Re-Leased play, they tell us actually Re-Leased play a really key part in that.
Yeah.
Because they can scale up but their scale is not necessarily tied to how many people that they could hire as well, which can be a real problem because, if you have to hire a whole bunch of people to scale up, everything becomes harder. And obviously it creates a lot of layers and a lot of complexity in the business. So those are always our favorite stories.
Yeah, it just proves that cloud and digital is the way, based on all of those stories, I suppose. So what is it that Re-Leased does that no other competitive software out there does?
Yeah, I mean, like at its core, we started the company to integrate in with Xero, and like I said, we expanded that out, and we integrate deeply with with QuickBooks and the other accounting platforms that are coming in. So that is really unique. The vast majority, there's a few companies out there that have like some form of integration, but it's not the same thing. They'll sort of do the accounting on their side, and sort of once a month they'll go and update the books. So in the general ledger, whereas we really design it from the outset to work in tandem and work really, really closely with those accounting platforms. And we just believe that was a really important part of the future. And again, like I mentioned, the way we think about our user experience, that we really try and consider the user experience, it's been really important. And then things like, we've been quite early in trends of things like mobile. So we've got 3 different mobile apps. So now you've got your tenants can interact with the software. They can log maintenance. They can ask questions. Property managers and landlords, they can all get access via mobile as well. So they can be out in the field, they can be on site, they can be at home, and they can pull up the information. And I know firsthand, like I know that my dad does this. He wants to work in the weekend, so the fact that he can pull up the information, look at it on his phone, and think about it and make decisions when he's at home is huge to him. Because otherwise, he would have to call someone and ask them how to download a report and probably even like print it and then scan it into the printer and then send it across to them, which is obviously not a good solution.
Yeah. One thing that I have noticed about Re-Leased though is that, you've made it very important that the lives of accountants and landlords, etc., property business owners are made easier, but you've also made sure that the lives of tenants are made easier. And just by having, that flexibility and that app to be able to log in and view any information that is required, I think is an absolute game changer compared to the other ways where it can be done, where it's just a quick text to quickly request some information or having to go through a whole folder of information late at night to find a specific document. I think having that flexibility where the lives of tenants are improved is a game changer.
Yeah, totally. We feel like we're only really scratching the surface of what we can do for tenants as well. The app was a really key part. We've got something in their hands that they can use. Release Pay, as I mentioned, we wanted to make it easier for them to pay. So now each invoice that we send out has a link they can click on. They can pay by credit cards, set up direct debit, set up repeating payments. So they don't have to worry about missing payments and potentially being charged penalty and interest rates. And we, again, like with Release Protect, we think there's a lot we can do around their insurance. And we think we can get them really good, easy cover and get them better pricing than they would be able to get otherwise by sort of unlocking some of the scale that we have. And so, like I said, I think we're just scratching the surface there, but there's a lot of value we can add.
Yeah, for sure. So moving away from Re-Leased for the time being, would you mind talking me through some of your biggest successes and what you were most proud of?
It's a good question.
The question that gets everyone, that one.
Yeah. Look, I don't know that it's like there's one moment that I'm particularly proud of, but I do get moments when I'm working with the team, whether I'm like working with a group or working with the team, where I just sort of step back for a moment and think like, wow, this is really cool because I'm just working with people that are incredibly talented, incredibly smart. We're solving these really hard problems together, and they're just way smarter than me. And I just kind of feel lucky that I'm able to sort of come to work and get the opportunity to work with such an awesome group. For me, that's really special, and they just operate at a level that before I was working in this company, I didn't know that level existed. And so getting to work with them and then learn from them every day, and as we bring on new people, you learn new skills. For me, that's pretty cool. And then obviously you still it's still a pretty cool rush when you can go over to London. I was based in London for a couple of years, but you can go to London or you can go to Denver and you can go into your office and work with the team now. But haven't done that in the last couple of years with COVID, but that's about to start back up. So I'm really excited. And that's always a bit of a buzz as well.
Yeah, they're probably going to watch us back, the team, and think that's very lovely of you to say, or they expected it. So one or the other. But no, that is very lovely. So what has been the toughest challenge that you have experienced so far, and how have you overcome that challenge?
it's a bit of a cop-out answer as well, but they're just like the challenges are, it's sort of never-ending for us. We have big aspirations. So the pressure we put on ourselves is really around growing and trying to raise the bar and do better all the time. It's not easy starting a software company on one side of the world and selling it to the other side of the world. You have to throw time and effort and energy in it. It's not a business that turns off at 5 p.m. Hence I call it 9:30 p.m. But it's something that we really love doing. We really believe in what we're doing, the problems we're solving, and it sort of makes it all worthwhile. We see the results, we know the impact it has on customers, and we see just the opportunity it creates. So it's not one problem. It's just a sort of there's just always new things for us. But we sort of put that pressure on ourselves because we have high expectations and high ambition of what we want to do.
Yeah, perfect. So if you had one tech-related piece of advice for business owners looking to improve within the property space, what advice would that be?
I think for me, it's properties for a very long time hasn't moved, hasn't done a lot, it hasn't changed a huge amount. You could own an asset and the asset would be set, and you just had a managing agent would come and fill that with a tenant every 5 or 10 years, and that was about it. And so you didn't have to take technology that seriously because you were making money, you were fine. But things have changed. Things are changing really fast. They're already changing. The internet's disrupting things. COVID has had a massive impact, and things are moving really quickly. Tenants' tastes are changing. The way that people want to work, the way your staff want to work is really different. And so it's no longer it's no longer a solid strategy to ignore technology. You really get at risk of being left behind by offering the same thing. We're seeing the trends around flexible working, all those sorts of things coming in. And so, but I also think that, the whole idea for someone that has never really taken technology super seriously, it can be kind of overwhelming. It's a big step. It's like, where do we even start? And my advice in there would just be to get started somewhere. If it means moving from Sage to Zero, or moving from desktop to the cloud, like start with one thing. If you start with Re-Leased, sure, start with the Re-Leased. That's probably a good one. But just starting somewhere, and then you can build out. But when you're doing that, it's probably a good idea to get advice and make sure that you're starting with something that can connect with other business softwares, because I truly believe that is the future. So you don't want to choose something that was only going to play by itself. And at the same time as well, I think there's a lot of fear. People want to use a big IT company, and they will, say, hey, we've got a complex business. And of course they're going to sell you something complex because they want to sell you something expensive. I find that most businesses, the vast majority of businesses will do very well using something like Xero. And if they do outgrow it, if they are that complex, then they can move later on. But I think they'll find that using Xero and plugging into something like Re-Leased will have a huge impact on their business. And like I said, we have companies that manage billions of pounds of property using Re-Leased and Xero, and they love it. So my advice there is just to get started and start that journey, and then grow from there.
No, I definitely agree. And do you think, from your point of view, that more and more property businesses are adopting tech every day? Or do you think at the moment it's still the fear of the unknown? They're used to their spreadsheets and their usual processes. Do you think that they need to be made knowledgeable of what is out there and available for their businesses in order for them to feel confident in moving?
I think that the vast majority are now very aware of how important technology is. I think COVID did that to everyone. I think so that it went from a potentially a point of pride. We're on spreadsheets, to now going, okay, if we don't take this seriously, we're going to be left behind. We're vulnerable from a security and a cyber point of view. We're vulnerable. We're not going to be able to attract staff. We're at risk of staff leaving, staff losing their computer, not being able to get into the office. So I think that trend was already happening a lot. We were seeing a lot of a big thing for us was like a new generation coming through and sort of asking what was happening with technology. But I think COVID has just changed their game. Everyone understands the importance now, and if they haven't moved already, they're looking to move. I think because it's just clearly what needs to happen to run a modern business.
Perfect. So that leads us on nicely to our next question, which is, what is next on the agenda for Re-Leased? Are there any exciting releases or anything upcoming that you can tell us about?
Yeah, so Protect is sort of the next new product. It's in pre-launch phase, so we're very excited about that. For me personally, I'm spending a lot of time thinking and planning and looking how ESG is going to play a big part in our space. there's sort of various levels of reports around the impact in terms of carbon emissions that real estate has, but it's as high as 39% of all emissions through construction to operating the property. And that's massive. That's such a big part of of that market. And we know that because we have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of properties, if we can find a way to help owners understand the impact that those emissions are having and find the ways to actively reduce that, we know we can have a big impact on the world and on the climate. So we kind of feel like we have a responsibility to do it. And we know it's a big opportunity for ourselves and our customers as well if we do that well. So that's a big trend that we'll be really sort of getting into throughout this year and future years.
Amazing. And when will we hear more about that? Will there be any exciting posts that we can refer to about that, or any dates we can look out for?
If I throw out a date, the engineering team will kill me for throwing out a random date.
Oh, no, they'll kill me too.
Yeah. And I'd like to think we have something early out this year. I'd like to think we can have. We know we were out there talking to the industry and really learning. So I'd like to think this year we can get something moving. But I'm always pretty ambitious about timeframes. But we've got a great team who can deliver great product pretty well. So I'm hopeful that we can have something this year.
Great. Well, I'm very excited to see it. And I hope that obviously we can knowledge our clients and make them aware of what is available, such as Re-Leased, and we can start to bring more clients over from their manuals to the cloud. So very excited to be working with Re-Leased, and thank you, Tom, for joining me.
No, of course. Thank you very much. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. If you like this episode, go and have a listen to the rest of the series. We are Raffingers, and you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn at Raffingers. Alternatively, you can visit our website at raffingers.co.uk. I've been your host, Emma Cohen, and this is Faces of Fintech.